finished a FaceTime with His Excellency, who asked me, will we make the Crawford fight? And the answer, Boots said to him, send a contract.
The fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis is now official, and it will happen sooner than you thought. They both agreed to go ahead with the fight, and now everything is ready to go.
You know, His Excellency has already said he loves the Terence Crawford Boots Ennis fight. You know, I took him to see him, and he knows he's boxing.
However, the fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis has now been announced, along with the date and location. This comes after the two fighters had an argument at first, with Terence Crawford not wanting to fight smaller opponents.
Like I always say, I don't care. I just want to fight the top guys, the best guys. They're going to bring the best side out of me.
This weekend, Jaron Ennis stopped David Avanesyan in the 8th round in Philadelphia. Right after the fight, he quickly called out former undisputed champion Terence Crawford.
He said to him, send a contract. So Terence Crawford, if he gets past Madrimov on August 3rd, will have the chance.
Ennis did a good job in his first defense of the International Boxing Federation World Welterweight title. He broke down Avanesyan and dropped him with a quick cross. In the 5th round, the challenger, who scored a lot of points, wouldn't make it to the next round. His team told the judge to call it.
See if Boots is a world-class fighter.
The fight was stopped 1 round faster than Crawford's fight with Avanesyan in 2022. This will, of course, be used as a bargaining chip to try to get the fight. Boots made it clear what he wants before the 6th round. The judge stopped the fight because the doctor in the ring told him to. I knew I was too strong for him and said I should have listened to my corner a little more, jabbed a little more, got to that body a little more, and got more angles. It's okay.
Out of me and not these guys that's on the lower level. You know, when you fight somebody that's sharp and good like you know.
It was the first title defense for Ennis, 27, who improved to 32 and reinforced his position as one of the top rising stars in boxing. He has scored knockouts in 29 of his fights. Ennis, a native of Philadelphia, was fighting in front of a neighborhood crowd of about 14,000 after a year-long layoff. I did feel a little off, he said. That's okay. I did get the job done. Fighting and winning in his hometown felt amazing, he said. Ennis indicated he'd like to fight Terence Crawford even if it takes Ennis to move up to 154 pounds from his current spot at 147 pounds. I want the big names, he said. But was apparently tuned in and took to social media post-fight to highlight what he sees as a changing of the storyline around Ava. He was criticized for the defense, whereas he now feels Boots has been credited, albeit by his manager Eddie Hearn, with beating a world-class opponent. A world-class fighter now. My double standards are crazy. Eddie Hearn, you talk good, reacting to a fan who pointed out the quicker finish. Crawford simply replied to all, whilst Bud's days at welterweight are almost surely over, with Saudi Arabia's Turki Alashik impressed by Ennis's showing and saying he would like to make the fight in the 154 ranks in the future. Hearn, who would have loved the impressive hometown turnout for his newly signed man, calls it the best fight in boxing. Crawford returns to the ring on August 3rd to face World Boxing Association super welterweight champion Israel Madrimov. His fight against Israel Madrimov marks his start at 154 pounds in his quest to become a 4-weight world champion.
Finished a FaceTime with His Excellency, who asked me, will we make the Crawford fight?
Peers Saudi Arabian boxing power broker Turki Alashik thinks Jaron Ennis has some boots to fill in the sport of boxing. Alashik suggested via social media fight between Ennis and pound-for-pound great Terence Crawford at junior middleweight soon. Clearly, Ennis, 27, of Philadelphia, stopped David Avanesyan, 35, of Nottinghamshire, United Kingdom, in 5 rounds on Saturday in his Philadelphia return. This was his first fight since signing with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing, and his performance definitely caught the attention of Alashik. I just reached out to boxer Jaron Ennis and Eddie Hearn to praise him on his win, and I'd love to see Ennis in a fight with Crawford at weight 150 for soon, tweeted Alashik. Ennis promoter Eddie Hearn also voiced confidence in the potential fight, but he clarified that it would likely happen in 2025. Hearn suggested that Ennis's next fight in the fall will not be against Crawford. He is going to move to 50 for at some point, said Hearn, but you don't want to really go before you have taken care of business. Hearn recounted a conversation with Alalshik about the potential fight between Ennis and Crawford. Ennis, sitting next to Hearn, voiced his view with a quick retort: "Send the contract." He recounted his conversation with Alalshik. "I said to His Excellency, maybe if you want, we will go co-main event on Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev in October out there, in Saudi Arabia. Or we could come back here."
You know, His Excellency has already said he loves the Terence Crawford Boots Ennis fight. You know, I took him to see him and he knows he's boxing.
There are further subplots to consider. Mike Coppinger of ESPN claimed that Saul Canelo Alvarez might target a busy-type fight in Los Angeles in the fall and move towards a Crawford mega fight in 2025. A lot of Crawford's future plans and options hinge on his upcoming WBA junior middleweight title shot against current title holder Israel Madrimov on August 3rd in Los Angeles.
He knows he's boxing, and he knows. But the thing is with Terence also knows, right?
Regardless, Ennis lingers in the background with the biggest fight backers in the world, the Saudis, showing an interest in making that potential fight happen. And while the fight is already agreed upon, they must still deal with a few obstacles that might make the fight happen later rather than sooner. Terence Crawford is 34 years old, and his days in the ring are really numbered. Therefore, if the fight isn't made soon, it'll lose its importance, and many fans will lose interest.
Can beat anyone, and he is a pound for pound great. I mean, he's a legend of the sport.
A big obstacle to the fight is Eddie Hearn's desire to see Boots Ennis become undisputed at the 147 PB division, which automatically means his next 3 to 4 fights would be world title fights at the current 147 PB division, pushing his fight with Crawford further. Eddie Hearn thinks that his fighter Jaron Boots Ennis must look to unify titles in the welterweight division before moving up to junior middleweight to face Terence Crawford.
I want to fight Boots Ennis, but you've got people now who are champions at 47 that will look now at Boots as their payday.
Ennis retained his IBF welterweight championship with the victory and is now eyeing a possible unification later this year. Crawford is the only other title holder in the division, but given his upcoming move to 154 pounds to face Israel Madrimov in August, the belts are likely to become empty. Hearn thinks Ennis must aim to unify before moving up to join Crawford one division farther north, and that his next fight could come as early as October on the huge Artur Beterbiev vs Dimitri Bivol card in Saudi Arabia.
Right, Barrios, Stanionis. What other fights are they going to be? They need to be looking for the Boots fight.
The number one goal is to unify the division, said Hearn. He's going to go to 150 for at some point, but you don't really want to go until you take care of business. His Excellency Turki Alalshik asked me, "Do you think Boots would fight Crawford?" I said, "Yeah, but that's for next year. We are going to fight in October or November." I said to His Excellency, "Maybe if you want, we will go co-main event on Beterbiev vs Bivol in October, or we could come back here." Crawford vs Boots at the ballpark has got me really excited. The encounter between Ennis and Avanesyan drew an official crowd of 1,419, the largest for a fight in Philadelphia since 14,939.78.
They need to be looking for the Boots fight for me to pay up, or a site B to pay up, or wherever to pay up.
Fans were allegedly still lining up at the box office for tickets while the two fighters walked to the ring. The event surpassed even promoter Hearn's expectations, and he thinks that the experience in a packed arena will be good preparation for a fight against the big names in the sport. A teacher is only as good as his fighter, but a promoter is only as good as his fighter, Hearn said.
That's for next year, but we're going to fight again in October, November. And I said to His Excellency, maybe if you want.
The truth is you need quality fighters, you need a big TV deal, and you need great fighters. What we saw tonight, I'd love to take all the credit, and Boots Ennis would, but no one expected that, honestly. They were queuing on his ring walk out there tonight. It was amazing. We've done homecomings, and it isn't easy. I know he thought his timing was off, but it's hard in a fight. You've got to be really zoned in. That was a really good experience for him tonight, because next time he's in front of a crowd like that, it will be a much bigger test. Another big obstacle is Terence Crawford wanting to fight the biggest fights, career-defining fights against the likes of Canelo Alvarez.
Co-main event on Bivol Beterbiev in October out there, you know?
Earlier, when asked by Fight Hype about the prospect of a possible showdown with Boots, Crawford was full of praise for the 26-year-old and told him his time will come. "I always said that Boots is a great talent, and I've always told everybody that I back him. I've been backing him since he was in the amateurs and he was fighting Gary Russell."
I said he remind them so much of me, but seeing him, you know, I kind of see myself in him, and yes, he deserve a title shot. He deserve it all.
"I always backed him because they said he reminded them so much of me, but seeing him, I see myself in him. And yes, he deserves a title shot, and he deserves it all. His time will come, but right now, business is business." And when Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. fought, Terence Crawford made history, becoming the first unified welterweight champion in the history of the From Major Belt era with a 9th round technical knockout win over Errol Spence Jr. last year. Crawford added Spence's World Boxing Association, World Boxing Council, and International Boxing Federation titles to his own World Boxing Organization crown. The knockout victory marked Crawford's 11th straight finish, with 9 of them now coming in the 6th round or later. This, however, was the most impressive of them all, as Crawford put on a boxing masterclass to completely dominate the fight from the moment he dropped Spence in the 2nd round.
Junior's era, or will it be Terence "Bud" Crawford?
That was an unfamiliar position for Spence, who had not previously been dropped once in his successful career. By the end of the fight, he had gone down 3 different times, a similar story to Devin "The Dream" Haney, who was dropped thrice en route to the very first loss of his career.
Spence. Back comes Crawford with the jab. Down goes Spence. How quickly that
Crawford finished the fight, landing a stunning 60% of his tower shots and 42% of his swings. His 87 hit jabs were the most by a Spence opponent. The fight opened with Spence dictating terms and pressuring early while Crawford carefully and cleverly sat back, picking his moments to counter like he did late in the 1st round. While there were no major moments for either fighter, Spence overreached on one occasion, and Crawford was quick to counter with a strong left hand.
That's the dude I need to fight, maybe after the rematch.
Always said
It was just a taste of the kind of chess match that was expected in the early rounds, with Crawford known as more of an intentional slow starter and Spence likelier to try to set the pace. Spence was able to do just that some more in the 2nd with a mix of his movement, consistent jab, and relentless pressure causing problems, but a great left power jab from Crawford saw Spence suddenly drop for the first time in his career in the final moments of the 2nd round.
hit that slump after this fight because he's from a litany of angles. And here comes Spence, though, as Crawford, and down goes Spence.
Crawford's power started to really tell in the 4th round as a big overhand left and a series of brutal jabs landed and hurt Spence, continuing an incredible start for the 35-year-old that carried over to the 5th too, with Crawford once again backing Spence up with his accuracy, speed, and textbook counterpunching. In the end, it was a matter of when and not if the fight would end, with Crawford dropping Spence another 2 times before sealing a TKO win in the 9th round. Regardless of their similarities, Ennis is determined to show that he's a few notches above him.
Time in the fight, and Spence is hurt. The 7th. A big shot! Down goes Spence for the 3rd time in the fight!
Since then, the 36-year-old has made it clear that he only wants legacy-building fights before he hangs up the gloves, with super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez being his top target. Crawford surprised fans and analysts after his statement, Errol Spence Jr.'s win to become undisputed at 147. He said he wanted to move up 3 divisions to 168 to fight Canelo for world titles. The Mexican hasn't entertained the call-out much, claiming he would get no credit for beating the smaller man and saying the fight wasn't in his immediate plans.
The same for me. I don't need to take that fight because everybody's gonna say it's too small, it's too small, it's too small, and then, you know, he needs to enjoy his fight.
Still, he has been open that money is a driving factor in his decision-making and won't rule the bout out totally. With that in mind, He was asked by Match Hype back in 2022 if it would be a tough match to train for. "I think Crawford would be tough to prepare for because he's a southpaw and straight. I think he's a very tough fighter." Canelo then revealed the 2 keys to victory: count and body shots. "Just be patient, prepare myself like always, and be patient. Work the body, but I think being patient is the key. Everybody looks for the head, and it's very tough to hit that kind of fighter in the head for his next bout." Crawford will move up 1 division and take on World Boxing Association 150 for champion Israel Madrimov in a bid to become a 4-weight champion, should but have stayed at 147. Ennis was seen as his only rival. The 27-year-old from Philadelphia has turned in a string of eye-catching efforts to bolster his undefeated record to 32 wins, with 29 coming by way of knockout. His latest outing saw him stop David Avanesyan within 5 rounds and quickly call out his countryman, speaking to Fight Hub TV late last year about the possible matchup. Crawford's old promoter Bob Arum called Ennis a tremendous boxer, but thinks his old fighter is unbeatable at that weight. "I know that Boots Ennis is a tremendous fighter and a great ability. Whether he would stand a chance with Crawford, I don't really know, because at 147, Crawford is, I think, unstoppable. The same way Shocker is at 135.
This fighter and a great talent. Whether he'd stand a chance with Crawford, I don't really know, because at 147, Crawford is, I think, unbeatable.
But Ennis is probably, other than Crawford, probably the best welterweight out there. Saudi Arabia's Turki Alashik has expressed interest in making the fight at super welterweight, given it's highly unlikely Crawford will be dropping back down in Jaron Ennis' fight this past weekend. He claimed he was rusty, yet he put on a show that brought his name on headlines again. The fight started off with Boots showcasing his speed, power, and fluidity, with him feeling so comfortable that he ended up fighting most of the fight right inside the pocket, trading punches in combinations with Avanesyan and clearly getting the better of the exchanges. In round 1, Ennis was out quickly firing jabs, Avanesyan covering up. Avanesyan sneaked in a right, but Ennis was in control early with time. Ennis began working the body to end slipping punches. Soon Avanesyan was caught with a low blow right uppercut and he was on the ground and in agony. He had 5 minutes to recover and the crowd was growing restless. Once it was time, the fight was on again and Ennis was still on the attack.
Shakur is a prodigy. I mean, I think, he's an unbelievable fighter.
Ennis kept unloading, but Avanesyan started fighting back in the second round. Also, Avanesyan was now stalking and finding his mark with a range of punches and impressive exchanges. Entering the third round, Ennis showed greater power and volume, but it was clear Avanesyan wasn't going down without a fight. Ennis kept ticking up the pace even more and fighting off the ropes as well. He seemed satisfied with unloading uppercuts and taking some punches along the way. Moving into the fourth round, Ennis looked comfortable even when Avanesyan stalked. He was already showing much of his huge repertoire and punishing Avanesyan's body. Avanesyan was also throwing punches, but not hitting much. The fourth round really was a little flare from Ennis.
Great talent, we're paying opponent.
In the fifth round, Ennis missed with a big right and slipped. Avanesyan landed a big uppercut and then he briefly hit the canvas. A huge slip and slider here. Avanesyan was owing here, doing his best to turn the tide. Suddenly, he went down almost immediately. He landed a punch and ate a bigger one, but he was back on his feet and more exchanges ensued. The punishing and steady body attack coming from Boots began to take a toll on Avanesyan, and Boots would then time a nice left-handed counter that dropped Avanesyan. In the fifth round, Avanesyan would get up from that knockdown, but would have to suffer more sharp punches, while viewers could watch him wincing at some of the body punches he took. Avanesyan would make it to the bell in the fifth round, but at that point Avanesyan corner saw that he was suffering and didn't have much resistance left to offer and decided to call a halt to the fight in between rounds. And that's all for now. What are your predictions for the fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Boots Ennis? Let us know your ideas in the comment section for the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing. Stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop great content like this. Until next time, peace out.